Hello class, welcome back. This will be lesson 2. I'm going to share my screen now so we can continue from where we started, or from the last place we stopped, right? Okay, so the last place we stopped was just like the very first lesson, right? We developed this Boston Celtics, just a very simple web page. So if you don't have your file open, not a problem. I'm just going to close this and show you how we got to where we are, basically. So open up your text editor and look for where you saved your code. So go to Open here and look for where your files were saved. I saved mine on the desktop in a folder called Web Design 1. And that's my file there. So I'm just going to open up that file, and it has, you know, everything that all the code we worked on before. So if for some reason you're watching, this is the first lecture you're watching, well, you want to go back to the previous lecture, it should be available for you on the assignment page, and watch that lecture so you can get up to speed. You can be at where we're going to be in this lecture. All right, so this is the code we have so far. And like we did to view this code in your browser, if you remember what we did, right? So open up your folder and look for the same file where it is. And once you find that file, just drag it to your drag it to your browser. So I'm going to drag this to my browser right here, drop it there, and close this box. And that is the file that we worked on, right? Exactly the same thing. So like I said, if you don't have this file at this web page, you want to go back to the previous lecture and type the code so that you are, on the same page with us, basically. All right, so we're just going to go on from here, and let's add a few things to the file we have currently. Now let me open this up and explain a couple more things here. So sometimes in your code, in fact, practically all the time, it's necessary for you to add comments, right? Comments to your, what are comments? Comments to your code. Comments are little notes that you leave in that you write in your code to kind of tell you what you did, or to remind you of, what that piece of code represents or it's about, right? So comments are little notes that you write in your code, for things you want to remember, maybe description of the code and stuff like that, all right? So let me show you how you write your comments. So let's say you want to remember the title tag. Here's how you write your comments. You start with the less than symbol with an exclamation point. You put 2 dashes. Now, you notice, depending on your text editor, mine kind of is going to turn, well, just see what happens here. So just going to put a question mark here, and then, so that's how you create a comment, like snippet of code. So where I have the question marks here, I am going to type in my comments. So I'm going to say, title tag used to place a title, place a title on the browser tab, something like that, right? Something that you can remember in your own words. You don't have to write exactly what I'm writing, but something descriptive, right? title tag used to place a title on the browser tab, something like that, right? Also, you might want to say, just right here, HR tag. Oh, you need your 2 dashes right there. HR tag creates a horizontal line, right? Whatever comments you need to write, you can write it there. But you know, it is a very strong recommendation to have comments in your code, because sometimes you're not going to remember all the time. You're not going to remember what's this code for, what's the other code for. You're not going to remember, okay? But when you look at the comments that you have there, it reminds you. And then as you get more comfortable or more familiar with the code, then it's easier to remember, okay? So it's a great idea to write comments in your code. Right here, I can say something like, say, width and src are attributes. Something like that, right? So here's width, and the value for width is the attribute, the value is 400 pixels. Source is another attribute. Actually, right here we can say after each attribute, comes equal symbol and quotation marks. All right. Now, if I go back to my code, you know, the next day or some later time, and I read width and source, width and src are attributes. After each attribute comes equal symbol and quotation marks. I can see right there, okay, that's exactly what I did. Okay. Then I can also say place value in between quotations, right? All right, so now let's look at something else here. Let me save that and refresh the page. Minimize that. So here's our code page here. Let me kind of maximize it for a second. Now you notice that all the code that I type right now, you're not going to see them. Actually, the comments is what I meant. The comments should never show on your web page. And you might be asking, so what's the point? Well, the comments show when you view the source. So if I look at the source, page source, let me zoom in here. You can see the comments, right? Title tag used to place a title on the browser tab. HR tag creates a horizontal line, and all the other comments that I have there. So the comments are not supposed to show up on your main web page, but they do show up in the when you view the source. Actually, some of those comments help other web designers when they look at your code. I said in the last lecture that you're free to use snippets of code in your own website. That's how web design works. You don't want to use the whole code. That might be plagiarism, but you can use snippets of code, you know, to add to your own web page. Now, when you see, so a lot of web designers leave comments in their code just to kind of, you know, remind them and probably other people who might see the web page what exactly is going on there, right? So, well, let's just see what happens here. So let's go back to let's go to Amazon, and let's see if we see any comments when we view the page source for Amazon. All right, so you can see right here is the comment on Amazon's web page. So maybe the web designer needs that comment for some reason to remember something, or for other designers when they look at it. If we scroll down all the way, you might see other comments here. Let's see if we see anything else. Obviously, there's a lot of code here. I'm not seeing too many other comments here. Okay, well, there's some comments down here. So, you know, things for maybe the designer, you know, that can be useful. But like I said, the comments never show up on the main web page. They go in the source. All right, so let's close that and let's keep going. All right, so let's develop this a little bit more. So what we want to look at in this lesson is, how about if we want to, right now the text is just black and white, right? Sometimes you might want to add some flavor or some color, right, to your web page, obviously, right? So let's look at how we can, you know, maybe include some colors in our text instead of just black and white. Let's say, for example, we want the Boston Celtics up here to be in green. Okay? So let's see how we do that. All right, so here is the Boston Celtics. Make sure you properly focus on the, you know, the piece of code or the section that you're trying to edit, right? Because, you know, sometimes you might be in the wrong part of your code. So this is what we want to do here, right here. So let's see how we do that. So right in this H1, I'm going to place an attribute. Attributes, like we said, or rather, I don't know if we said that already, but attributes help you to give some characteristics, right? Help you to change, right, the characteristics of, you know, an item on your page. So in this case, we want to change the characteristics of text, right, by using attributes. So the characteristics we want to change is like the color and stuff like that. The black you see here is like the default color, right? Even the size that you see here, the size of the H1, the size of the, I think this was H3, the size of the regular text, these are all default sizes, default colors. So by using attributes, you can change the appearance. You can change the size, the colors, and stuff like that. So attributes help you to, shall I say, change the characteristics. That's what it is. So right here, we're going to use an attribute that we call style, right? And the same rules, equals, and you use your quotation marks. Now, the style attribute, right, allows you to use several, let me open this notepad, what we call property, P-E-R-T-Y, / value pairs, right? The style attribute allows you to create and use property value pairs. So what's a property value pair? For example, property might be color, and then we use a semicolon, and the color might be red. That's a property. This is the property, and this is the value, right? You separate both with semicolon. Okay, right here, you can say another property is width, and the value might be 200px. Okay, another property might be font size, and the value might be 21px. So inside your style quotation marks, you can have various property value pairs. Now, you might be thinking, well, how am I going to know what all the properties are and what the values? Well, you don't have to worry about knowing everything there is to know. Just like when you're learning something, right? One step at a time. So whatever you see in this lecture, just type it. You get a little bit more. It's like what we're doing is we're putting tools in your toolbox. All right. So you get a little bit in this lecture, in the previous lecture, in subsequent lectures. That's how you build your sort of code vocabulary, right? All right. So let's go on here. So let's say here what we want to do is we want to change the color right there. So we're going to say property value. The property is color and the value is, let's say, green. The Celtics go with green. So you do H1 style. You can apply attributes to most, literally all, but not all, but most tags. Right, most tags. So right here, you can apply to the H1 tag, save, and then let me refresh this page. And now you can see that the Boston Celtics is exactly what we specified it to be, the color, green. All right. Now, if you want to add, you can have multiple property values, multiple pairs. So now we have green. How about if we want to change the size or the font type, the type of font? The default font on web pages is Times New Roman, or Times New Roman. So you might want to change that. Personally, I don't like Times New Roman. It's just because it's the default on a web page. It's a little bit hard to read Times New Roman. And if you look at several web pages, they don't use websites. They don't really use Times New Roman on the website. So you got to change that to a more friendlier font, or what we call web-friendly fonts. Okay. So let's go on here. So if you want to use pairs of property values, right? You want to use pairs. So you got to use a semicolon, right? A semicolon to separate them. A semicolon. Okay. So let's say we want to adjust the font itself. So we say font family. It's called font family, colon. And let's say the font family we want is Verdana. Okay? So this is the first pair, color, green, color, colon, green. The next pair, before you place the next pair, use a semicolon. Then you have font family, font dash family. That's how you write that. Colon, Verdana. That's the name of the font we want to use. So save that. Now think about this, or I want you to do this. Every time you make a change in your code, before you refresh the page, kind of pay attention to the page, right? You know, especially to the area that you expect to change. Don't just refresh the page blindly. make sure you look at it, and so you can kind of like you can see the change as it's happening, right? Because sometimes you just save, refresh, and you don't really notice it because it went too fast. All right. So this is the area we're working on now. I'm going to look closely so that when I refresh the page, I want to see, if it has changed the font. So refresh, and you can see that the font has changed, right? It has now changed to a bolder kind of font, and also a web-friendly font. Now let's add something else here. Let's increase the size. Now you notice I don't have any spaces between my pairs. It's okay to put a space. It's perfectly okay. So let's say we want to increase the size. So font size. I'm going to say, I don't know, let's just do 21px. You can always put a value, and if it's not the right value you need, then you can, you can change it or something. So save, refresh. Okay, that's even smaller. Okay, so let's make this like 36. Let's just see what that looks like. Save, refresh. Okay, there you go. Let me make it a little bit bigger, 42. Save. All right, so that's quite big and bold right there. So that works for me. All right, Boston Celtics. Okay. Now let's do the same thing to the titles, right? To the titles here. To each of these titles. Okay, so I'm going to go, just to make it easier, like I said, if you copy and paste, it might make your work go faster and you can be a bit more consistent and maybe make less mistakes, all right? Because when you code, a lot of things are repeated. Like you probably use, a lot of repeat using the same attributes and stuff like that, right? So you can copy and paste, and then you edit as you need to. So right here, I'm just going to copy this part, not the quotation. Well, I'm just going to copy the style and all the things that go with it. So style equals quotation mark, all the values in here, and the other quotation mark. Copy. So I want to use it for all the other subheadings. So I'm going to go in here into style, space, and paste. Paste. So make sure let me undo that. It's going to let me undo that. Yep. So place your mouse right after the 3. It's got to be, your style attribute has to be inside the tag, right? It has to be inside this H3 tag, the opening tag. So place your mouse right here, right after the 3, space, right? Put a space and then paste right there. Paste. Right? Now, we don't want the size to be as big as what we have the Boston Celtics here. Right, we don't want that size to be that big. Yeah, we don't want it to be that big. So the color, the font type or font family, and so let's just say the size is going to be like maybe half size, 22. So save. Now this should change. This is what we're working on right now. Refresh the page, and you can see that there's a change there, right? So we're going to use the same properties or values, should I say, the same values for team base, for all the subheadings, just to keep it consistent. Web pages are all about consistency, right? You don't want to use a different font type, right, for every subtitle. It's going to be too messy. So websites are about keeping things consistent, keep it simple, keep it consistent. All right, so let's, so I'm just going to, again, copy and paste. So I'm going to copy everything inside the opening H3 tag, right? So just highlight everything here, copy, and it just makes your work easier, and you make less mistakes. So I'm just going to paste that right here. Paste. Save. Now that should change this next line here. Refresh the page. You can see that that has changed, right? Consistency, and you move faster. Now you can always type everything, from scratch, but why do you want to do that, right? So, and if it helps you to type it just for your fingers and for your mind, for you to just get used to the whole typing, then you need to do that, right? Type it until you get more confident, right? So I'm not saying never type, always cut and paste. No, maybe because I'm used to it, right? So you might feel like, well, Professor, I just want to type. So that's perfectly fine. Sometimes when you type, it's a good way for you to get used to, how to do it. So you're free to do that. All right, I'm going to paste that right here again. That's for Celtic Star, Larry Bird. That should change this part. Save. Refresh the page. And now we have one more title here, Bill Russell. I'm just going to paste that here. Paste. Save. Refresh. All right. So if I expand this website now, web page we have so far, website. Actually, it's not a website yet until you have multiple pages. So it's just a web page for now, right? A website is when you have multiple pages. Okay, so we have a level of consistency, right? All our subtitles are the same color, the same font type, and same thing goes here. All right. How about we want to change the font for the paragraphs? Okay, for the paragraphs. So let's see how we do that. Basically the same thing, right? Same process. So we want to change this part here. All the paragraphs, one paragraphs to have the Verdana, this font type here. All right, so I'm going to type this part just for you to see how it develops. So right here, I'm going to place my style attribute, double quotes, and now you want to say font family colon, and that's Verdana. Right, font family Verdana. So save. That should be for this part. I'm just going to take out this little part here. Just going to say Celtics. Just a little edit. I mean, nothing, not a big deal. Okay, so refresh the page and let's see what happens. All right, so you see here that the font type has changed. In fact, let me zoom in here. Let me zoom in a little bit more. Now, this type of font, this is Verdana. This type of font is what we refer to as, let me write it here. We call it sans serif. Sans serif. Okay? Which basically means no serif. You're probably wondering, what is serif? Okay, well, here's what a serif is. So we have, let's say we have two types of fonts, two general types of fonts. We have sans serif, and then we have serif fonts. Now, what is a serif? To put it simply, I'm going to zoom in a little bit more on this page. All right. So notice, let's see here. All right, let me look for something here which might be, okay. Okay, yeah, this is a good one. Look at this G and this G here. right? Or look at this A and this A. Now you notice that this A, let me see if I can still zoom in on this A a little bit here. See how big it can be. Okay, right here, it can be quite big. All right. All right, now notice that this A, right? If you look at this A as well as this D, somewhere here at the tip, right? Right here at the bottom, kind of like bottom right side of the D or the bottom right side of the A, right? It has a little curve, like a little, angle sticking out, right? You see that on the A, you see that on the R. The bottom of the R has those little things sticking out, right? Same thing with the K here, right? Like little tiny extensions at the bottom of the letters or the top or the edges of the letters, right? Well, those are what we call serifs. Same thing with the C here. This little edge of the C, just this little part here, or the T, this little part of the T, or this part of the T. All those little extensions, right? They're kind of like from the old times where people who printed letters would use like a wooden block, and when you try to fill in the wooden block letters with paint, the paint will kind of go into the edges of the letters, right? Just some history, not a big deal, but you notice that compared to those Times New Roman text, compared to this font type here, these fonts here have no serifs. They're just plain, very sharp edges, nothing, no extensions. Same thing here, the H, the O, the C, the K, no funny extensions, no little tiny things sticking out, compared to these guys here that have little things on the edges. Well, those little thingies on the edges are what we call serifs. So when you have a font like a Verdana font, those kind of fonts are called sans serif, no serifs. And the other fonts, like this Times New Roman, is referred to as a serif font. Okay, so basically, let me zoom out again properly. All right. So basically, we like to use, on most websites, you're going to see that most websites basically use sans serif fonts. It's easier to read, more web-friendly. Okay? You might see a few using Times New Roman or serif fonts, but not so common. Okay? Not so common. I mean, okay, here's an example. Let's go to ESPN.com, for example. ESPN.com. See, ESPN.com. I'm just going to click on any of these articles here. Just now you're going to see here that, well, ESPN has some kind of, you can see that it's sans serif. So you might say, oh, those guys are using sans serif. Okay. Well, let's see. Let's see CNN.com. All right. So you notice CNN.com, right? Let me just kind of click. Just click here. Now look at CNN's font type, right? There's no serif there. It's a basically sans serif. You can see that, it's easier to read. Sans serif, easier to read. Let's go to Facebook. Facebook has sans serif fonts. Sans serif, right? Sans serif. So let's go to go to Instagram. In fact, even we don't even have to go to Instagram, right? Right here on Google's search results, you can see that the font type there are basically sans serif, and then of course Wikipedia uses sans serif fonts because it's easier to read. All right. So some websites might use serif fonts, but I think you're going to see that most websites use sans serif fonts because it's easier to read. So you might want to do the same thing. Okay. Let's close all this, guys, and go back to what we're doing. So let's change all the font. Now, notice something. We're going to look at, very soon, I'm going to introduce you to CSS, which is basically Cascading Style Sheets, right? It sounds very complicated, but not so complicated. Don't worry about it. We're going to learn it. Everything is a step at a time. But what do Cascading Style Sheets help you to style your page, right? By default, HTML is very just black and white, not a lot of color you can add in HTML using HTML code. But when you use CSS, right, CSS adds the flavor, right, to HTML. But CSS has its own rules, which we're going to look at. In fact, there are three types of, three types of CSS. One, you have what we call inline, right? You have embedded CSS, and you have external. Right, three types of CSS that we can apply to our HTML code: inline, embedded, external. Actually, what we've been doing so far, right, what you see here is actually inline CSS. Now, inline in the sense that, let me see if I can describe that to you guys. Inline code, so let's say CSS code that affects a specific or specific items only, right? So inline CSS, the code affects a specific or only some specific items. For example, you notice that every time we want to, what we've done so far, we want to style the top here, right? The top, the main heading of the page. Well, our style affects only this tag here, the H1 tag, right? Just a specific item. When we wanted to, same thing with this, each of the headings, each of the subheadings, right? You look at line 10, the H3 tag is affected. Line 13, very specific. Line 19 and line 22. Same thing is going on here. We're trying to, change all the paragraphs to be serif fonts. Well, we did this part already. And you notice that the first paragraph there, right here, we'll go back up here, on line 11, our style, which is using the style attribute, only affects just this paragraph, right? So only that paragraph changed. Now think about this. If we keep going on this way, very soon we're going to be very frustrated, right? You're like, what do you mean? Imagine for 1 second that we wanted to change all the subheadings, instead of green, we just want to say, let's make all those guys red instead of green, right? So how would you change that? Well, you guessed it. We have to go into each of the headings and change this to red. Then we save, we refresh the page. Now that's red. Then we have to keep going into each of those inline styles, right? Inline styles. We have to go into each one and make the specific change. So we go in here to red. Then we go in here, we save that, we verify that it's changed. Now we have two subheadings that have changed. Then we keep going, we change this to red. Red, everywhere you see red for the subhead, everywhere you see green, you change it to red. So save. Now you can imagine that just takes a lot of time. And usually your web page is going to be much longer than this, have more content. So if you're going to use inline styles for most of your web page, well, it's going to be very frustrating when you want to update things, because you have to go into each inline style and make changes. Well, that's not the way to go, okay? So right now I'm trying to change the paragraphs, right? The paragraphs to Verdana. Well, there's got to be a better way to make all the paragraphs the fonts that I want without having to go, one at a time. So the inline style has its uses. You can guess what that is. You use the inline styles when you have maybe a specific style you want to apply to a specific item, but not the bulk of the items on your page. That's not what it's designed for. For example, if I want to change just this heading here only, then I can use inline styles, right? But for all the contents, all my subheadings and all my paragraphs, too frustrating. So we go to the next style, which is the embedded style. All right? The embedded style, let's just say it covers CSS code that affects the entire page, right? So your inline style affects a very specific item or items. Your embedded style affects the entire web page, like the whole page, right? So let's see how the embedded style works. So scroll up to the top of your code and place your mouse on line 4, hit enter. The embedded styles have to stay inside the head tag, right? This head tag here, like in this section, has to be in there. So I'm going to place my mouse right here. Let's just say line 5. And this is how we create the embedded style. You type a style tag, excuse me. Let me make myself a bit more comfortable here. Make sure you're comfortable when you're typing your code, because it can be very stressful. So you want to give it your full concentration and be as comfortable as you possibly can. All right, so an opening style tag and a closing style tag. All right, so these two tags are vital. Actually, let's use so we talked about the comments, right? Now, well, I'm going to show you something, because right now we're going to do a lot of CSS code. Now, the inline styles already include CSS code, right? The inline styles we have here, this is actually CSS code. We're just going to use it in a little bit different way, just slightly different. So go here. Okay. So right now, what we're going to type there, let's just say P, for example, right? I'm going to type a P. What's the P for? Okay, let's go over to W3 Schools, right? W3 Schools is a very friendly website. A lot of web designers go to W3 Schools, right? Because there's so many helpful tutorials. A lot of, it's like a school for web design, right? It gives you all these tutorials you can learn from, okay? Which help, it kind of, you add it to what we're teaching here, right? It's like extra tutorials, right? To make some things a bit clearer. Okay, so we're talking about the embedded style. So let me show you something here. So let's go here and let's do a search for, say, CSS code. Okay, we'll do a search for CSS there. And here we say, let's just go to CSS tutorial. Okay. All right, so right here, I'm going to click on selectors so you can understand what I'm trying to, what we're looking at here. One second here. Okay, this is what we just talked about, right? We just talked about the external, the internal. Well, they call theirs internal. That's what we call embedded, right? So embedded, internal, and then you have the inline, okay? So what I'm trying to show you here, let's see the syntax. Okay, this is what we're looking for. So when you're creating that embedded or, internal CSS, there's some things you should take a note of. We have what we call selectors, then we have properties, values, properties, values. We already did the property value, which is what we have here, like on line 13. Here's our, so you can see here is your selector, what we call attributes also, right? And here's your property, and here's your value. Same thing they have down here, right? So property value. So let's see how we use this in your CSS, because this is the CSS syntax, basically the correct code that, when you're typing CSS. So let's go here. So it tells us that the first thing we got to do is create a selector, right? P, my selector is P. P is basically the tag on your page that you're trying to affect. Maybe you want to change the color, you want to change the size, the specific tag you want to change the characteristics, right? So if we look at our code or go back to our page, remember we want to change the styles for the paragraphs, all right, the paragraph tags. And in our code, we have paragraph tags on line 17, on line 20, on line 26, line 29, and so on. So back to our embedded style, we're going to place our selector, that's the P, and then next we're going to use a curly bracket right here, this curly bracket, place a curly bracket. Now what they did was they placed theirs on a straight line. So you have an opening curly bracket and a closing curly bracket. The opening curly bracket points to the left and the closing points to the right. And then you have pairs of property values in there. It's not realistic, like I said, to have all your code on a horizontal line because you're going to have a lot of code. So it always makes sense to have everything vertically. All right, so it all works the same way. All right, so you have your, now CSS, the comments in CSS are slightly different, from the comments in HTML, right? So in this style tag, everything that goes in there is CSS code, right? Cascading Style Sheet code. So the code is a little bit different. In HTML, the tags look exactly like that. So what's the comments like in CSS? You got to put a /, you type an asterisk, and then you write your comment. So this is the selector, and then an asterisk, and you close it out with a /. That's how you write comments in the CSS, right? In the Cascading Style Sheet part of your HTML. Might sound a little bit confusing now. It will get clearer as we go on. Basically, what we're doing now is we are embedding CSS in our HTML page, right? So the rules, are different. When you're in the CSS section, the rules are different. All right. So we have the selector here, and then we start with an opening curly brace, and we close with a closing curly brace. Like I said, if you go back here, you have your selector, the H1 in this example. You have your curly brace here, points to the left, and your closing curly brace. Very important that you don't make a mistake. Very important. You use the correct symbols, the correct characters. If you make a mistake, you can always fix it. But all these are rules. They're rules that we got to follow. Okay. So on line 8, I'm going to place my property and values. Okay. So what I want to do is I want to change the font family. So you type very similar to how we did it down here in the inline style. Very similar, right? Font family Verdana. Font family Verdana. Then you use when you got to separate each pair with a semicolon. So let's just do that for now, and then we're going to say font. We're going to say color. Now I'm doing this for a reason. I want you to see what happens, right, when we apply the embedded style sheets, the embedded CSS, right? The embedded CSS. So I'm going to change the color of the paragraphs to, let's say, orange. So you see what happens. Well, I'll explain in a second. So color there is going to be orange. All right. So this code is going to affect all the P tags on the page, right? Whatever is inside the P tags is going to now have this characteristics, right? It's going to be font family Verdana, and the color is going to be orange. And that's what I mean. That's what we mean by the embedded CSS affects the entire page, not just specific items, the entire page. All right. So let's see what happens here. Let's save this. So remember, we have our P tags. We have P tags here, right? This is in P tags. We have P tags on line 24. The pair of P tags right here. Yeah, your P tags have to be in a pair, right? The pair of P tags. Okay. Same thing. So right here, same thing on line 20, on line 30, 33, and so on. So we expect all those P tags or the content of those P tags to change to Verdana, and the color is going to be orange. So save it, refresh the page. All right. So you can see here, right? Let me check something out. 1 second. Okay, let me do something here just to differentiate things. So right here in the first paragraph, I'm going to give it, that's the inline style, right? I'm going to give it a different color just to help you understand what we're doing here. So I'm going to say the color is blue. Okay. Okay. So notice what is going on the page. We have the first paragraph is blue, and all the other paragraphs are orange. So let's try to understand that a little bit, right? Let's go back to our code here. So like we said, the inline styles, right, affects a specific item or specific items. Okay? That's what happened here. On line 21, we have an inline style in that paragraph. Okay? And we set the inline style to have bandana, and the color is going to be blue. In fact, we can change the inline style to be, let's just call this script. Save it, refresh the page, and you can see that it's script, right? Not very easy to read, so we can actually add a new property called font size. And let's just say the font size is 18px. Refresh the page. Oh, well, let's add a little bit more here. So let's just say 25, save, refresh. Okay. So because this is an inline style, let me move this away. It's an inline style, right? This inline style is going to affect that paragraph only. That paragraph only. Now you might say, well, Professor, you said the embedded style affects the entire page. Well, yes and no. So let's fix that. Let's clarify that. So there's something you call a hierarchy, H-E-I, a hierarchy, right? Or order of P-R-I-O, priority. That is what comes first. It's kind of like a set of rules. This has to come first, this comes next, then this goes next, right? Like a hierarchy. Maybe you can say kind of you have grandparents. You always have grandparents, and then you have parents, and then you have children. So in terms of hierarchy, you always have grandparents first, you always have parents next, you always have children, right? There's no way you can mix that up. Obviously, you can't have, this never works, right? You can't have parents, grandparents, no. Just being ridiculous, right? So in terms of hierarchy or order of priority, this comes first, this goes next, then it goes last. Okay, something like that. Now, in terms of hierarchy for the embedded styles, if I'm to number these guys, I'm going to say, just like I had it before, number 1 is going to be the highest priority, then number 2, then number 3. So if you have any items on your page that have inline styles, they're always going to display first. All the other items that are not in inline styles display next. And when we get to external, you're going to see what that is. So right now, we have this paragraph with an inline style right there on line 21, right here. That's the only paragraph with an inline style. All the other paragraphs, line 24, line 30, line 33, all those paragraphs have no inline styles. The P tags are basically blank. And so if there's no inline style in the tag, it's going to be affected by our embedded style sheet here. That's what's going on. So here's our selector, and here are our styles, right? We're saying all P tags on the page must be bandana and the color must be orange, right? Which is what happens here. The only time that rule does not work is if there's a p tag that has an inline style. So that's what's going on there, right? So I want you to get that clearly. Sometimes you might want to, differentiate, some part of your web page. You don't want it to be affected by all the other styles. You're free to do that. But you got to remember, because it can be confusing sometimes when you look at your web page and you think, what's going on? My code is not working. Why is this part blue and the other parts are orange? Well, you may have an inline style like what we have here on line 21, and you might not remember, right? So all you have to do is, if you don't need it, just get rid of it. For example, if I delete this inline styles here, save, and I refresh this page, everything is now going to be uniform, right? Everything is uniform. So it's a good idea for you to, obviously it's a good idea for you to remember what is going on, right? Pay attention to your code. Sometimes you go so fast and you're like, what happened there? Why is there, why does that part look different? So I'm going to undo what I just did. So just to refresh, just to go over that again, if there's an inline piece of code on your web page, it is never going to change. Even if you have an embedded style sheet there, it's never going to change, right? Okay, let's keep going here. Now, how about this? Well, let's do a few more things here. So let's go back into that. Let's go back in here in our style sheet, our embedded style sheet, and let's add a few more styles here. So let's add a style for the body. We have a body tag. The body tag is on line 23. Okay, so let's see what we can do to the body tag. Let's say we want to add a background color to our page. Background color. And we're going to say it's light blue. Actually, I think light blue is one word. Light blue. Well, let's see if it works. Save. All right. So we have light blue there. I mean, all the colors here are kind of crazy colors. Like, these colors make no sense. But for this demonstration, right? Because I think the rule is, if your background is light, your text should be dark. And if your background is dark, your text should be light. So, but this is just demonstration, just to help you, see what we're doing here. Okay, so we applied a background color of light blue. That's fine. That's fine for now. Okay, let's just leave that. Let's just leave that the way it is. Also, well, all our subheadings, right? All our subheadings are in inline styles. But let's say we wanted to control the subheadings, which kind of makes sense, right? It makes sense. You want to control the subheadings using your embedded style sheet. So let's do some work here. Let's get rid of all the styles in here, in the subheadings. Get rid of the styles. That's the ideal way to do it. We went through this, process just to help you see things, how things develop, okay? So let's take out all this here. Take this out. Okay. If you save the page, save the file, refresh. All right, so now all our inline styles have, all our, our subheadings have basically no styles. All we see is the default black and the default H3 sizes, okay? So let's use the embedded style to control the H3 tag. So H3, as long as you have a tag on your page, you can, apply some styles to it. So H3 is our selector. Then we have, you notice that when I type both my curly braces, they kind of light up in this aqua color. Depending on your text editor, you might have that or not, but it helps me because I can tell that I have a complete pair, right? Sometimes when you forget a pair, your code breaks, your code doesn't work. So it depends on the text editor that you have. All right, so same thing here. I'm just going to copy this part here. This is what I want. Just copy this and paste it here. Makes my work easier. Paste. Just going to move that in here. All right, so the color that I want there, I'm going to say it's red. All right, so for the H3, so save. Now, when I refresh the page, all the subheadings should change to red, exactly how we had it before. But now I have more control, right? So let's say I want to change all the subheadings to, out of red, I want it to be green. Save, refresh the page. That's it. Just one change that you make. If I zoom out of the page, right? Okay, well, that's a bit too small. Let me come back to how it was. So one change that you make, right, it affects all those subheadings on the page. So obviously, when you're designing your web page, you've got to be very smart in your choices. Am I going to go with inline styles or am I going to go with embedded styles? It wouldn't make any sense to go with inline styles on a large scale. That won't make any sense. I'm sure you can, see what we're talking about now. So embedded is the way to go. But even the embedded has limitations. The embedded style sheet has limitations. Because imagine this, right? So I'm going to show you now what I mean. So now this is a web page. We want to make this into a website, right? A website. A website has more pages, many more pages than a web page. So if you want to develop a web page into a website, you've got to have more pages. Basically, you've got to have some links to click on. Okay, so let's move forward and develop this into a website. We're going to have a few more pages here. All right. So let's do this. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to rename this file. Okay. Now, right now it's called lesson1.htm, but the ideal name, because you see, basically we want this to be our home page, right? Right now it's just called lesson1.htm. If you're going to have a website that is more than just one page, then your home page, what you call the home page, has to have a specific name for the file. So I'm going to rename this, save as index, index.htm. Like I said, you can use HTM or HTML, but you have to be consistent. I like to go with HTM. You're free to go with HTM or HTML. So save. All right. So I'm going to close this because now the file has changed. So I got to get my new file here. So open up my folder. And my file is here. Same file, all we did was change the name. So index, we're going to put it right here, the same file. Okay. So like I said, if you're going to have a website, right, your home page, what we call the home page, that's the page you land on. when you type espn.com or amazon.com, stuff like that, the page you get to first is your home page. Typically, it's called the index page, right? So that's why we renamed that file. And you're going to see how it works. So rename your file index.html, and then let's keep going. So we want to develop this into a website. So we're going to add some links here. All right, so let's go here and let me just minimize this here so we can see everything side by side. Okay, so we want the links. We're going to place some links just right below this horizontal line here. So let's go here and place another horizontal line on line 30. Your lines might not, your code might not be on, it might be on different lines compared to mine. It doesn't really matter. I'm just calling out the line numbers just to help you see where we're at. But you may not have the same line numbers as I have. Don't worry about that. So save, refresh the page, and now I have two line numbers there. Sorry, I have two HR lines there, right? So okay, so go on line 30. That's between your two HR, lines there, and let's just say home. Let's say team. Let's say tour, and let's say so the home page of the team. The tour, and what else do you want to say? Let's just say schedule. How about that? Maybe TV schedule, right? Just random. Okay, so we're going to create for now 4 pages, right, on this website. So I'm just going to save this right now, refresh the page, and you should have it here. We're going to make links. We're going to make these guys into links. Okay? So let's keep going. All right, so here, how do you make links? Now here is a new type of code that we haven't looked at. It's how you make links. So it's the A tag. So you type the opening A tag before the home, and after the home, you type the closing A tag. That's how you type all the links. But notice something, when you save and refresh the page, it actually doesn't look like a link yet. I'm going to zoom in on that. It doesn't look like a link. Nothing is clickable. The color doesn't change. So what's going on? Well, the A link you see there on line 30 is completely useless without attributes. Okay? So that's it. It can't function without attributes. So here's the attribute that we use, href, hyperreference, right? That's basically a link. You click on it and it takes you to some document, right? Some document, or, it could be another web page, a picture, a file to download, something. But hyperreference, it makes reference to a document. So in here is where we type the address, right? Okay, so right here, the address where you want to go to when the link is clicked. Remember, this is our home page. So when you click that link, that home page is right here, the index page, right? So I got to type in the name of that, of the page or the file. Every link, let me just say this, when you click on the link, it actually points to a file, like an actual file that was created, right? That's what links are. The file might be a picture, it might be a video, it might be music, audio, but it's pointing to a file, right? So it's important for you to realize that. So this is our index file, index.htm. When you click on this home link, it's going to take the user to index.htm, that file that we have designed. All right. So save it, refresh the page, and you can see that now it's become a link. In fact, if you look at the bottom of my status bar here, I'm just going to move my mouse up here. So see my status bar, you can see at the end of it, the right side, if I move my mouse, you're not going to see that. So I'm just going to leave my mouse on the link. But look on the status bar, just look right here somewhere. When I place my mouse on the link, just look right here. All right, so you can see at the very end, it shows you index.htm. All right. So that is the file that's going to open up when you click that link. Like we said, the file might be a web page, it might be a video, it might be, something on Wikipedia, it might be a picture, it can be whatever it is. But a link is taking you to a file. Okay? All right, so let's do the same thing for all this, for the team, for the tour, and the other pages. So right here, a href. Okay. So save. And now we have a link. Now this link, if you look at my status bar, it actually isn't going to go, well, let's see. Okay, let's give it a name. So we're going to name it team.htm. Save the page, refresh the page, save the file, refresh your browser. Now when we click on team, you can see it looks like an error. File not found. Where's the file? Think about it. Obviously, we haven't created the file. Okay, so let's hit the back button. We haven't created the file. When you click on home, we have the file because that's this file you're looking at here. This file here is your index page. But we don't have a team.htm file. So we're going to create the file in a second. That's why when you click on the link, it's blank. Or it looks like file not found. The file doesn't exist yet. So same thing for the other guy. Let's just finish that up. So hopefully you're getting, you're understanding, how all this works a little bit more. And then href. Remember to place your tags in the right spot. If you make a mistake, for example, right here, I just made a mistake, right? See that? I'm just going to save the file, refresh the page. You can see that my mistake shows up there, right? So you got to go, take your time. Because if you type the wrong code, then you're going to see the wrong result. So save, refresh the page, and you can see that looks fine. So if I click on tour, oh, I haven't put any name there. I'm just going to call that tour.htm. And I'm going to call this TV schedule, just one word, TV schedule.htm. So save, refresh the page. When I click on tour, file not found because we haven't created the file tour.htm. When you click on TV schedule, we haven't created the file, okay? When you click on home, the home is fine because you have the file, okay? All right, so let's do one more. Let's do a bit more here. So right below this bottom horizontal line, let's type in a H. Let's say in a H2 tag, H2. H2 tag. Let's call that home. Okay, that's called at home, and save. Refresh. So if I maximize this page, basically when you click on home, it's going to show you that this is the home page. And also, if you look in your browser, you're going to see that that is your index page. All right. If you click on theme, none of these guys are going to work because there's nothing there. All right. But the home page is fine. That's your index page. So we're going to use this page as a template. Now, it's a very basic web page, but no matter how simple or complex your web page is, it's always a good idea to have a template page. That is a page that is, for the most part, completed, you know, like 90, 95% completed, and you use that page as a template to make the other pages. It gives you a lot of consistency. And here's what I mean. So our home page is fine. I'm going to use the home page to create the other pages. So here's the first page I want to create, the theme.html. I'm just going to copy that there, theme.html. I'm going to go to File, Save As. Now, Save As allows you to change the name of the file, but create a copy of the file, okay? So you're going to change the name and basically create a copy. So I'm going to paste the name here, or you can type the name, theme.html. So I'm going to save, and then right away, I'm going to change this like heading to theme, and then save again. So actually, if I open up my files, you can see that I have my two files there. I have my theme, and like I said before, ignore, this BAK files are backup files, so you can ignore those. But I have my theme, I have my index file. So those two files that I need so far, okay? So if I refresh this page, I click on home, I click on theme, you can see that theme changes because, and of course, right here in the browser, you can see that right now we're on the theme page. So I click back on home, it tells me I'm on the home because of this text here, and also in the browser, I can see that I'm on the home page, the index page, okay? If I click on theme, it changes the name here, and I can see right here in the browser, it tells me the file has changed, okay? Let's do the other two pages, tour and TV schedule. So remember that the template page, the template is your index page. So go back to your index page, open up the index page, and then you're going to rename the index page. That's your template. Rename the index page as the next file. So this is going to be called tour.html. So copy, save as. That's my tour, save, and then I'm going to change the home here to tour, and then save. If I look at my files, I should have all three files, my tour, my theme, my index page. If you go here, click on theme, on home, you can see that you're on the home page. You can also see in your browser that you're on the home page. That's the index. The home page is the index file. You click on theme. Right now you're in theme, and you can see in the browser the theme file, theme.html file. If you click on tour, it changes here, and you verify in the browser. Now you're looking at the tour file. Very important that you go systematically, right? Don't rush it because you can get everything all mixed up. Go step by step by step. So let's do the last one, which is the TV schedule. So same thing, go back to open up your index file, and then you're going to rename the index file as, so I'm just going to copy this here, So this is the index file, save as. I'm going to paste the name, tvschedule.htm. Save, and then right here I'm going to type tvschedule, TV schedule, save. And now I have my home right here. Confirm in the browser that the file is the same file. Team right here, up here in the browser. Tour right here in the browser. TV schedule right here in the browser. So now we have a home page, we have a team page, we have a tour page, we have a TV schedule page, we have a website, right? You have a website when you have multiple pages, right? When you have multiple pages with links between them, that's a website. If it was just one page, obviously that's a web page. So back to what we said earlier about embedded pages with embedded styles. Now, because we copy, we use the index page as our template, right? Now think about this. Let's say we wanted to update all, again, same idea as before. We want to update. Actually, you know what? Before we do that, so now you have different pages. Let's do some things a little bit different. So let's say in the team page, we want to change the background color of the team page. We can do that. So make sure you go to team and go up here to background color. And let's say the team page is going to be, I don't know, light green. Just demonstration, just showing you what is possible, what you can do on a website. So light green. So we go to the home. Home is light blue. Team page is light green. Let's say that tour has a different color. So go to the tour file. Go to the background color up here. Let's say it's, I don't know, silver. Save. Home is light blue background. Team is green. Toy silver. And let's say TV schedule is, I don't know. Let me close this box. Well, let me show you something about colors, right? We certainly have some default color names like silver, right? Orange, green, primary colors, but we also have colors that don't exactly have names, right? They're called hexadecimal colors. Hexadecimal, right? Colors that don't particularly have names. Right now, this blue here, this blue tag or this blue kind of text, or actually look at this web page. So this blue text is a different blue from the blue background, So you might have some colors that are lighter or darker and in between. So you can't always say light blue, dark blue. After a while, you get lost. Like, okay, how do I know the exact name of this specific color? So we go back to W3 Schools, and they have a very easy tool to use. If you scroll down on W3 Schools, right here is what we call a color picker. So click on that. Now notice, if I click around here, just look at this part, right? This is what we call a hexadecimal color, or the hexadecimal code for the color, right? This color is sort of, I don't know, some kind of a shade of orange or shade of brown, right? Well, I don't care about the name of the color as long as I can get the code. So if I move around, this is some kind of a shade of purple or pink, shades of green right here. Whatever color you click on is going to give you the specific hexadecimal color. All right. So you don't have to memorize all these colors. Just come to W3 Schools, look for the specific color that you need, copy the hex color, and you're all set. So I'm just going to copy something here and say, some light color here. Just going to copy this. Make sure you also copy the pound sign in front of it. So you're always going to have a pound sign and a combination of letters and numbers. Okay? Letters and numbers. So copy everything. You can see that it is, if you're interested in that information, it's a combination of RGB colors, red, green, and blue, different percentages, right? So just look for the color you want and copy it and put it in your code. So right here, so we're trying to change the color of the TV schedule page. So I'm going to go my TV schedule, go up there to the background color and just paste that there. So that's my color. It's going to work the same way as the regular colors, should we say. So save. So home is light blue, team is light green, toy silver, and there you go. Now the color looks horrible, but this is just demonstration, okay? Okay, so what I'm trying to show you guys is, how this embedded works or does not work in a sense. So right now, when you look at the code, you look at the team page, you can see, let me open that up. You can see that each of those files, right? Each of the files has a embedded style sheet. So if we wanted to change, the properties of those pages to be consistent, we have to go to each of these embedded style sheets and make the changes. Now that might be easy for you to do, because you only have 4 pages. So you have 4 pages in your website. So you could go to team and you can say, well, we want to change all the P tags to a different color. We want them all to be, I don't know, maybe gray. The text, we want it to be gray. Well, you go to the team page, you go to the tour page, you do the same thing. You go to TV schedule, you only have 4, and you go to the index page too. Let me open the index page up. So you go to 4 pages and you just make the changes quickly. Well, how about if you had, a major website like ESPN.com. ESPN.com. Now, ESPN.com has so many different pages, right? For all the different sports. NFL, NBA, MLB, soccer, NHL, golf, WNBA, right? So many different pages. Well, now, obviously, the website needs to be consistent. So you're going to do so much work going to each individual page, trying to mess around with the embedded style sheet. What's the solution? The solution is to use an external style sheet, right? To use an external style sheet. So how does that work? So here's how it works. And I don't get confused here. I'm going to mix a little bit of things up, but don't get confused. Like we said before, it's very important for a website to be consistent in its design. You can see here, there's going to be a lot of consistency. If we click on any of these pages here, right, there's going to be a lot of consistency. How the stories are set up. If I go back and I click on another story here. You can see that there is consistency in how the page is set up, right? So we're trying to maintain consistency. All right, so let's do some tweaking here. So you have 4 pages: the theme, tour, TV schedule, and index, okay? So for now, we're going to kind of hide. We're going to hide the embedded style sheet. Here's what I mean. So go right here, put in the comment / put in a, actually, let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do it this way. Let's copy this file here, or copy this piece of code from line 5 all the way to line 23. Okay, so copy that. Now go to your, text editor and open up a new page. Right, just a blank page, and delete everything in there. Just take everything out. Right, we're going to use this page or this file as our external CSS file, and we're going to apply the CSS file to all the 4 pages. So we're going to kind of remove. We're going to remove the embedded style sheet, and we're going to use the external. It's all part of the demonstration, so you see how it works. And you see the benefits also of it, right? The benefits of it. Okay, so this is our blank page. I'm just going to paste the code that I just copied there. Right, I'm just going to put that there for now. I'm going to remove this style tag here and remove this style tag here. Those styles, let me just undo it. Basically, these style tags belong to HTML. And we're going to make this file into a CSS file. In a sense, when you create a CSS file, you don't want to put any HTML tags in there. Now, the opposite, when you create a HTML file like we have in here, you can certainly put CSS in there. We've done that all along. But now a new rule, when you create a CSS file, you can't have any HTML tags in there. It's going to create an error. So delete the HTML style tag and delete this one. Okay. So now we're going to save this file with a CSS extension. So file, save as. You're going to save it in the same folder. I'm just going to call it my style.css. Basically, it's going to be a cascading style sheet file. Cascading style sheet file. All right? So give it a name, .css, save. And you might notice that, I don't know, maybe the colors change a little bit or something. Okay, it's fine. Just leave it the way it is. So back to our index page. Right, back to our index page. For now, we're going to delete the styles between, line 5 all the way to line 23. Just delete it, right? So in the head tag, it's going to be like it was before. All we're going to have in the head tag is the title tag, right? Pay attention. We're on the index page right now. Okay, so you take out the code you had there, and let's type in this new code. Link rel equals, then you type, then you type href. Okay. So this link, this code here, well, let's just complete it. So relationship style sheet. The type is text/CSS, and the href. Href is what is the name of the file. Remember the file name right here at the bottom, my style.css. So type it exactly how it is. Same thing. So all this code here on line 4, this code is going to link up your index page to the CSS file automatically. So all the styles we have here, right, in the CSS are going to apply to this index page automatically. Now, just to confirm, remember we don't have any other styles here. All we have is this link, right? No other styles, no other embedded styles, right? So watch this. I'm going to delete what I just did now. Save. And let's go and refresh the index page. You see the index page is completely like a lot of the styles we had there are gone, because in our index file, we remove these styles. There is no style and there is no link that links us to the CSS document. So let's put it back. So here's the link, right? This code, just type it exactly how it is. In fact, every time you need to link up to your external style sheet, just type this code exactly how it is. The only part that changes is this part. You might have a different file name, but every other thing remains the same. All this part here is the same, just change the file name. So remember that. Okay, so like I said, what we have on line 4, this is going to connect the index.html file to the CSS file. Whatever code we have in the CSS is going to apply to the entire index.html page. So save both files. I go here, I refresh this page, and now you see that all my code is back. All my styles, that is, right? Now remember, we're trying to be consistent, so we're going to apply exactly the same style, right, to all the other pages. Right now, all the other pages have, the background color is different here, the background color is different here, it's different here, right? So we want to, actually, let's do this. Let's just create it. Let's do this. So let's go to the style. We're going to say that all the paragraphs are going to be gray, right? We're going to say that the background, just for this demonstration, actually, let's go here. Let's go to W3 Schools, and let's get a more specific color, something light greenish, this color here. So let's get this color, copy that, go back to our code, go back to your CSS code and put it in there. So we're going to say that for our page, we want the background color to be that light green, and all the text, we want it to be gray. So let's save it. Go to your home page again. So now this is what it looks like. So this is what we want all our pages to look like, to be consistently like this. All right. So right now, they're all, different colors. The orange we had originally, right? All there and all that kind of stuff. The tour page, same thing. So we want to maintain a consistency with all our pages. So let's go here. So same thing we did. We're going to go to the theme page. We're going to delete the style we have here from line 5 to line 23. I'm going to delete. I'm going to basically come to the index page. I'm going to copy this style here and put it right here. right? Save, go here, refresh. So home, team, consistent. This is the team page, now consistent. The tour and the TV need to be updated, but home and team are consistent. The colors and everything, right? So again, copy this here. Go to the tour page, delete all the styles we had, delete, paste your link there, save and refresh to be sure. So home, team, tour, consistent. Again, TV schedule needs to be updated. TV schedule, delete everything here. Paste it right there. Save, refresh, home, team, tour, TV schedule. So you can see that all the pages are consistent. You can change some of, obviously the content might change, but the whole look and feel are different. Here's what I mean. So let's say we go to team, right? And we want to change this picture, right? We can change the picture. So go to team here and say the first picture, this picture here is going to change. So let's do Celtics again. Go to images and let's get a different image here. So I'm going to get a different image. So say, I don't know, just a different picture. So right click to view the picture in the new tab, like we said before. It has JPEG or JPEG. This is fine too. So I'm just going to copy the address there. Go to my code. This is my team page. So change the code there and paste the new thing you've got there. Paste, save. Now refresh the page. So you can see that your home page, you have a different picture, and your team page, you have a different picture. In fact, you can change the text if you want, to something totally different. If I go to, go back here, go back to Wikipedia. Let's say I want something else about the team. So I can go, down here. Each page, right? Each individual page can be, obviously, I mean, that's how websites work, right? Every page has different information. So what I'm just trying to say is the information can change. But in terms of the background color, the fonts and everything, you want to maintain that consistency, okay? So you can always change all this content here to something else that's more related to the team. Same thing if you go to tour, you can change the picture. Go to TV schedule, you can change the picture or the text on the page, right? So we can see that when you use your external style sheet, like we've done here, you maintain a consistency. When you're troubleshooting your website, it's like a snap. You can change things quickly in terms of features that are common to all the pages. Let's say we wanted to, change like the paragraph colors, right? Right now, all the paragraphs are the same gray color. Well, if you want to change all the paragraphs, just go in here and say, well, I want the paragraphs to be red. Red, you save. Just one change you make, you go to every page and you can see that everything's now red. Go to every page, it's now red. All the pages, consistent, right? If you want the subtitles to be a different color, same thing. You go in here to the subtitle and say, well, I want the subtitles to be blue. You go here, you refresh the page, and you see all the subtitles are blue right away. Okay? You go to theme page, subtitles are blue, TV schedule, subtitles are blue, index page, subtitles are blue. So that's how you maintain a consistency when you talk about, you know, just the general appearance of your web page and your website. And no matter how many pages, you can have so many links up here, so many different pages, all with different content, but there's a sort of a uniformity to how the web pages appear. Consistency. All right. So that's where we're going to end this lecture, and we'll continue building the Celtics web page in the next lesson.